So from outdoor adventures to when your outdoor adventure becomes FUCT, Terra Frma is a holistic approach to natural disaster preparedness, combining expert steps with wellness-focused guidance. Here to tell us more about how the heck to do that is founder and CEO Allison Barnard.
Thank you. She's really funny. I'm funny, but now I have to talk about disaster preparedness. Meg Chun, I'm funny. She can vouch for me. Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Barnard. I have a lot to tell you guys in a short amount of time, so I have a lot of notes. I'm the CEO and founder of Terra Frma, which is a disaster resilience company, and we've just launched what's called the Grab and Go Box. Before this, I was a business consultant and a life and wellness coach, and I specialized in resilience and resistance. So my first question is, has anybody here ever been in a natural disaster, been nervous about one, or knows someone who's really scared about it? Okay, so there's plenty of us who know that this is a big problem. I'm not naturally an alarmist. I don't worry about things very much, but this really was starting to freak me out. The potential of what can happen here, besides wildfire, Cascadia subduction zone and what it could potentially do had me pretty unnerved. The risk of Cascadia slipping into what's called a megathrust is going to rip a 9.0 off the coast. Here we're going to feel it just above about a 5, but we can expect for bridges west of I-5 to all be down. We can expect I-5 to no longer be a viable corridor. We can expect to have no natural gas here for about 6 weeks, no fresh food being trucked into town. We can expect for my parents in Southern Oregon to have no running water for up to a year, which is crazy to me. I can't even really fathom this being possible. My father-in-law, his name is Jeff Barnard, and he wrote for the Associated Press in Oregon for 35 years, and he covered, thank you, he's a good guy. He covered the Cascadia subduction zone extensively. At the same time, my husband is an engineer on an oil tanker, and his tanker that he runs goes right over the top of the subduction zone, which isn't much of a problem when he's out there, but if he's in port, I'm terrified. If he's gone and all of this happens while he's gone, I'm a little freaked out. So I kind of wanted to know what to do. My father-in-law, my whole family, we were all having this conversation in my living room routinely 3 years ago. What are we all going to do if this happens? So I essentially wanted to figure out how to handle this on my own, with or without my husband around, who's extremely tactical. The first thing I did was I went to the Prepare Out Loud event. I don't know if anybody went to this at Tower Theater a few years ago, but the Red Cross put this on. And this awesome presentation was done by this guy named Steve. He knocked it out of the park, and I left so motivated to go home and prepare. So then I started to do that and was like, what is going on? This is insane. These are all downloadable sheets and gear companies trying to sell me gear that I already have too much of. Who else has way too much gear in Bend, Oregon? So I essentially realized nothing is motivating me to follow through. These resources are not at all user-friendly, and it's kind of a massive undertaking to get prepared for a natural disaster, as so many of us know. It's crazy. So I'm trained in resistance and resilience, right? So one of the first things I would always do with my clients is really start to pinpoint when I was starting to see resistance in them and getting done whatever it is that they wanted to do. And I saw my own loud and clear. It was like, I'm not going to get this done. I also saw my friends and family not preparing, and they absolutely knew that they needed to, just like I would guarantee almost all of us in this room know we need to do something. So what I came to was it would have been really nice if outside of that presentation at Tower Theater, if waiting in the lobby for me had been this awesome product that totally guided me through how to do everything and made it really simple. And since it wasn't there, and I couldn't find anything like that online, the entrepreneur in me took over, as entrepreneurs in this room understand, and I had no choice but to try and build it. And I knew that I could build it. So what did I need? I needed something that would guide me through preparedness, something that was easy to follow through on, had gear recommendations, was holistic in that it guided me through the before, during, and the after of any natural disaster in the United States. I needed to know how to stay calm under pressure, which I know how to do and my husband is trained to do, but not the whole world knows how to do this. It's extremely complicated. And I needed to know that whatever I made, it would show us all what to do physically, analytically, and emotionally. And as a mom, that really mattered to me a lot. So when Paradise Fire happened, all of us know about that fire, I'm sure. It started in the early morning, and within 4 hours of that fire starting, 18,000 plus structures were lost. And they were really lucky because cell towers went down and the emergency alert system malfunctioned. Not a lot of people know that that happened. That can happen here. So my goal was to make sure I made something that allowed us to guide ourselves if everything goes wrong. I also wanted to know how to evacuate and what to take. I wanted to have a product in my hand that would teach me beforehand but guide me completely through it when things got hairy and I was having a hard time focusing. I didn't want it to be an app that might not be able to work if cell towers were down. And I needed to know that I would have emotional support if everything went wrong. I'd know exactly what to say to my kid or to my neighbor who was completely overwhelmed. And I knew how to make that product. So, knowing that I had a pretty good idea, I vetted the Red Cross, FEMA, and Ready.gov, and I tried to figure out why are they saying these things the same and then these things are a little bit different. And I reached out to disaster experts who kind of walked me and my team through, why are these things different? What do you guys think we should be telling people that they aren't? And they gave us amazing feedback. We also talked to trauma therapists and first responders who gave us a ton of information that we included in the content. Once the idea was formed, I tried to figure out who would my actual competitors be? Is this worth me taking on? And there were none. And I really mean there were none. I tried very hard to find people who were trying to make what I was making, and there was no one. I knew that I needed to write it as I would for a client being a life coach. I wanted to obsess over how to get the user to actually follow through as I would with my own clients. I wanted to anticipate their resistance the entire time. And then once everything was written, I had a trauma therapist step in, and she looked for any remaining little indications of resistance that might pop up, and she rewrote all of those sections. Bottom line is we all deserve to feel prepared, and I wanted to make sure that we made a product that meant that we could be. So a little bit about the market. In 2017, 8% of the US population was affected by disasters, which is a huge number. That's 25 million people. I figured that if we could convert just 1% of those people, that is 250,000 customers. And that's just the people who have been affected by a disaster. That doesn't include all of the people who are freaked out over the prospect of a disaster. And like us, know that we need to all be doing something. So needless to say, it's a really large market. The first thing I did is I created an advisory board. I contacted Josh Bruce, who is the resilience director at U of O. And he came on board and taught us a ton. I also wanted to make sure that I started the business right from the very beginning, so I hired Eric Mead, Jarrell Bracelin, and Mona West to get us jump-started, and then they all joined the board. Other people on the board who have been on for over a year are Rob Little of Cairn, Meg Chun of Kiloa, Brandy Kerr of Zelios, Scott Aycock of the Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council, Christina Arnold of North Shore Partners, as well as a trauma therapist, a fire chief, and an attorney. I also assembled a team, and after 2 years, we launched what is called the Grab and Go Box. So this is it. It's really small. It lives on your bookshelf as though it's a bookend. You grab it when you want to practice, and you grab it if you need to evacuate. And I don't know, I know I'm incredibly proud, but I think my team is incredibly proud of this too, because we worked our tails off on this for a very long time. Inside, you can come up and see it up here, but we have a guidebook that walks you through exactly how to prepare. Up here at the table as well afterwards, we have action plans that guide you during and after an emergency. And if there's a moment where things get hairy, we have a recovery section that covers everything from if your house is damaged to if you come back and it's just gone. And it walks you through exactly how to handle that physically, analytically, and emotionally. And we also have what we call a disaster deck, and we have a bunch of these up at the front table, but essentially this is a little pocket-sized reference for every disaster in the US, so that no matter where you go, where you travel, or where you live, you can grab this in a real-time event, and it tells you what to do in your vehicle or outside of your vehicle. It's a great thing to go in kids' backpacks as well. And then we also have a number of accessories for preparing and evacuating. And all of that fits in this little box that you can grab anytime. Every product that we have is color-coded, meaning the disasters are color-coded so that they're all exactly the same in all of the products. And we have gear recommendations in green so that you can then go onto our website and order whatever you need. It also includes a free membership. It retails for $98 and sells direct to consumer. 1% of our sales goes back to trauma recovery resources for first responders and gifting disaster decks to elementary school students in disaster-prone areas. It's all made in the United States. Most of my team is located over here. Charles Triple-May is our director of operations. Megan is our content editor. We also have Nolan Wilson heading up sales, Stephanie Julia. We have Mary Kate with the Workyard, who's our head designer, and a number of other people that are on our website on our team. To protect the company, we've trademarked Terra Frma, the deck, and soon the box. We've copyrighted everything. We've got a disclaimer. We've spent over $40,000 trying to protect this company. Personally, my husband and I have invested $125,000 in this thing by mortgaging our house and spending our savings because that's how much we believe in what we're doing. We also did a small seed round with friends and family, and we'll be looking to fundraise more in the future. We soft launched, and I can talk more about that if anybody wants to ask the question, because I'm almost out of time. Ask the question. What do we need? So we need strategic partnerships, first and foremost. We need CEOs who really care a lot about their staff and wants to buy these for them, knowing that if there's a disaster, they're more likely to come back to work faster if they can recover at home because they care most about what's going on at home. We need new sales channels, and we need sales tonight. If anyone wants to buy a box or a disaster deck, they are 30% off tonight, or there's flyers all over this room, and you can get 25% off on our website for the next 48 hours.
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I totally get what you're doing because I'm a former Portland police officer. Yes, we had lots of disasters like the Mount St. Helens eruption and a bunch of other things. So Q&A time. Have you reached out to FEMA and the state government?
So we've not reached out to FEMA yet, only because we have to have some time to prove our concept. Also because we changed some of what they said to do based on what disaster experts told us. For instance, they say, this is how you evacuate for a volcano. But Megan got on the phone with a volcanic expert and she said, no, the volcanoes on the West Coast are totally different than the volcanoes in Hawaii. And you need two totally different evacuation scenarios. So we haven't yet. We want to make sure that we did this right. We want to get feedback from people who buy the box, and then we're going to reach out to them and say, you guys need to buy these for people.
Yes, sir. Insurance underwriters.
Yeah. Yes, we have. I've reached out to a couple locally to kind of test the waters. What we would really like ideally is for anyone who buys the box to get a discount on their insurance because it's in the house. So we hope to kind of chase that down over the next few months.
What did you not get to that you'd like to say that you didn't get a chance to talk about?
Yeah, I have about 20 minutes. Okay.
In 1 minute.
Okay, so we soft launched and we've been A/B testing on Facebook and Instagram, and we're learning really fascinating things about who our customer is, which is not exactly who we thought our customer would be. We have a sales team working to get the decks out onto shelves. We're going to be selling on Amazon in 2 to 3 days. We have a Kickstarter launching soon for the disaster deck. We're reaching out to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and saying, you guys, this is like such a great fundraiser, and schools for a fundraiser, HOAs. Here's something cool though. That guy who did that amazing presentation for the Red Cross at Tower Theater, He's left. He struck out on his own and started his whole new thing, and he's just going around to like huge companies doing this presentation. And I sent him a box and said, I need to be in the lobby after every presentation because that's what they needed. And he said, I agree. So we're working on that this week.
Any last questions? So I think the question is recovery process, whether it's man-made or natural, and how are they different? Is that kind of what you were saying?
Kind of, yeah. So my husband and I talked a lot about this. Because he runs an oil tanker, he really understands what happened in Valdez. They've made his tanker redundant, for instance, so that if one side of shit hits the fan, excuse my French, I swear a lot, that the other side can take over. And we thought a lot about this. In the beginning, people were saying to me, do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about school shootings? Do you want to add all of these things? And we thought, we're not experts in that, and it's enough for us to just stay in the natural disaster realm. But that said, when those quakes happened up in Alaska this last fall, I want to say it was, or winter, we had sent some content from this for emotionally recovering from that. And the people that I talked to who used it, they essentially said, we're so grateful to have this because we can really utilize this for any emergency situation. It doesn't have to be a natural disaster.
My friend Ricky Ott wrote a sound truth like 20 years later, taking what they learned from the healing process in Cordova. That's helpful for you.
Cool. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Thank you.